Michael.
What up, Michael?
From Boston.
Yeah.
First, I just want to say thank you because you're pretty much one of the reasons why I'm making my own video game documentary.
Awesome. What are you doing?
It's called That Video Game Documentary, and it's about gamers and why we love the medium and why it means so much to us, essentially.
Excellent.
That sounds awesome, man.
What's up, and welcome to part one of the movie. Right now we're going to talk to my friends, and we're pretty much going to ask them why they love video games and why they've been playing them for so long. Myself, I've been playing video games essentially since I saw Doom on a computer and I realized, wow, that looks amazing and I need to interact with this thing, as Bradley Whitford said in the movie Get Out.
You can't rock for me, don't stop!
Ready?
Yeah.
Alright. So you guys have chosen as your video game a WWE game.
WWE
Yeah.
SmackDown vs. Raw 2007, the only credible game that they actually have.
Like, let's be honest.
Besides SmackDown, Here Comes the Pain, but yeah, everything after this game sucks.
Pretty trash. It's like pretty bad.
So would you say your experience with the WWE wrestling franchise helped you to enjoy this game?
Oh, absolutely. Most definitely. Who doesn't want to play as their
That's how I
favorite?
feel about that.
Who doesn't want to play as their favorite wrestlers fucking around on stage?
Yeah. But this game was really cool because it like you got to, when you were younger, you got to idolize these guys and you got to do all the moves, like watch them do all these crazy moves, and on this game it was basically limitless at the time, so you could do whatever the hell you wanted. It was dope. It was dope. You could climb off a chair and just not care at all.
It's really, it's
You
actually
could have all the fear and none, or all the fun and none of the fear.
of being a young kid actually doing it.
Oh no, that's not to say I didn't jump off a ladder onto my brother on a trampoline, but like...
I was about to say, there were many times for me and my cousin, you know, had a fake worldweight heavyweight championship that we'd fight over. So when this game came out, you know, the broken arm injuries went down.
Oh, dude, I snapped a dude's arm.
Did you?
Like, yeah, it was bad once. Not good. I can
What
still
did
feel
you
it.
do?
Like I
What
fell
did
on
you
him.
do?
I fell on him, and he just put his arm out, and I can still feel his bones breaking
Just
under
like-
my body. Ah.
So would you say you're more likely to play a video game that's based on a previously existing franchise or like something original?
As long as I think if the idea interests me, I would play it. I don't think I have like I'm set on just playing wrestling video games. That's a little too, that's a little ridiculous.
Like Madden or something.
Oh yeah, you know, because the ideas, that was dope. The ideas interest me. Not to say that I wouldn't try something new, but I would, if I was gonna try something new, it would probably be like something at my friend's house before. I wouldn't just go risk it. I'm cheap like that.
No, I agree. It's not like I would just be playing like a wrestling game or like a Madden game. I definitely like if the concept or the actual point of the game is interesting to me. Like I love like story-driven and role-playing games a lot more. Like if you look at like Fallout or like Mass Effect or things like that, I love those so much because they're so interesting and the story's really good. But like I always enjoy playing games like the wrestling ones that you get to wrestling or like football ones or baseball games where you get to just play as like your favorite characters and sports stars.
What are your experiences with video games?
I've been playing video games since I was like 6. where I'd always end up, there'd be moments where I would be playing it with like my sister, all the way back to like having like a Sega Genesis and a Nintendo 64, playing like Smash Brothers or Mario Kart or Mario 64 and all of the different iterations of those from that point on. I've just been playing video games ever since. Not like a super gamer, but definitely as more of a casual when I have time, because I have such a busy life. So it's a fun way to kind of just like get away from everything and just have fun.
So we're here with Brendan, quality friendo and miniature equine aficionada. So first question, Brendan, why do you play video games?
Well, I don't know. Mostly, it's a way to kind of take my mind off of things that are going on in my life. You know, it's kind of a good escape. But it is more than that. I mean, it's entertaining. Depending on what I'm looking for, there are different things, whether it's, you know, from a sports game and just sort of want something short to a more grandiose kind of story. You know, there's a lot that you can do. I think it's there are a lot of different things. So.
Very versatile medium.
Exactly.
Do you have friends that play games?
Almost exclusively, yeah. I would say that not that it's the biggest drawback, but for the most part, I would say if you don't play any video games at all, it's less likely that we're going to have things to talk about.
Mm-hmm. Now, with the friends that do play games, does that make your relationship tighter?
Oh, it definitely can. I mean, it gives a lot of overlap. You know, a lot of the time it's something that you could do together. You know, and it develops a sort of community, even if it's just a group of friends playing a game together. But sometimes it can be even more than that. You know, it's an experience. It's a shared experience.
Awesome. So what's your hope for the video game community? Like, what would you want it to be involved into?
You know, I think that's something that varies game to game. I think the greater video game community, in that regard, variety I think is really important. You want everything from sort of a casual kind of experience to something that's even more in depth, something that's so immersive that you kind of get lost in it. So I think on the broad scale, the video game community needs to have a lot of variety. But I think individually, different games or even different genres kind of have their own communities within that greater video game community. And for those individual communities, I think what matters is sort of, you know, how you bond over the singular experience that's sort of put to you, you know?
Mm-hmm. Now, what would you say needs to change about video games? Because we've seen a lot of great things happen, but we've seen a lot of iffy things and weird things happen. So what would you say needs to change about video games?
I think one of the best things to happen recently is this influx of small developer indie games, because I think at a certain point in any media, once you start attaching a price tag to it, once you start turning it into an industry, you can lose a lot of what made the original idea so great. So.
I'm sitting with Paul, gamer, great friend, and wizard aficionada. We're here to talk about video games and what we enjoy about them and our hopes for the future and what we want to see out of video games. So, Paul, the first question I propose to you is, what do you love about video games?
I love that video games allow you to dive into so many different worlds, and I know that that's a little bit of a cliche, but it is one of the things that I love most. They're an avenue into such a wide variety of worlds, from Mass Effect to Assassin's Creed to Call of Duty to League of Legends, all of these very unique worlds that you would never be able to experience. And on top of that, it allows you to control those experiences. I love watching movies and TV shows and reading books and all of these other mediums, but one of the things that really stands out for me about video games is that you get to control it. You are the main character. You are the person who's saving the world, as opposed to passively watching it. And I think that's a huge part of why video games have become such a huge medium, and that they have become such a progressive art form, because people want that control. People love that control, especially where so many people feel like they don't have control over so many other things. It gives you a great escape and a great place to just have fun.
Now we're talking about what we love about video games. What is your hope? What if you can make one change to video games? What do you think that change would have to be to make them even better?
So I think we've kind of come to a point where there's a little bit of a worrying trend in video games as they stand right now, where we are rewarding developers and rewarding studios before we even know what the final product is going to look like.
Welcome to part 2 of the movie. Now we enter PAX. This is a convention about video games for gamers, so I've been lucky enough to talk to some gamers here and figure out what their relationship with video games is, and they're pretty interesting because they're all different, but at the heart of it, they're all very similar. With Corey, Cameron, and Alyssa to talk about video games and why we love it so much. They're great. Thank you so much for helping me out with this documentary. So I want to pose the question, why do you guys love video games so much?
I'd say it was one of the things that brought our group of friends together in college, especially.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. It's definitely always, for me, it's been about bonding with others. It's how I grew up playing games with my brother, and now today I get to keep in touch with friends like Corey and Victoria and a bunch of other friends by playing games.
Yeah, as a kid it used to be almost like a escapism, social isolationism thing, but then with multiplayer games and meeting people who are also involved with games and love games, and growing up watching my brothers play and stuff like that, it became more of a social activity, and I think that's what's kept it in my life, even more so than the escapism.
I still live in the camp of the isolationism. I like being a hermit, playing Zelda, and things like that, but...
that new Zelda, though.
Exactly. Oh, I mean, if they do any multiplayer stuff, who knows? DLC is still, yet to be released.
Take all my money.
I mean...
the Switch and all of Nintendo's products have always been about bringing people together.
Yes.
from all levels of play, and you know, I think that's why I've always loved Nintendo.
So that's just my 2 cents, that I'm not on the multiplayer level, like when it comes to online communities, PC and all that, but I still feel a part of the community because we all have that common thread of something brought you into it, whether it was Mario Party or something bigger than
single
that,
player
Minecraft.
or couch co-op or any of that stuff.
I mean, here we are at Penny Arcade Expo, a convention for gamers by gamers, and I think it proves that, you know, there's a stereotype of us being like, we can't really talk and we're kind of shy, but like I've just had an hour conversation with someone who I've never met before, and you know, I think what do you think about these events that really bring us together and, you know, amplify the medium?
Well, it's our first time at a PAX convention ever, so I think for me, just with that different view of it, I think it's wonderful that we're able to all talk about what we love. And even if we don't have like the same things, like there's clearly people that are all about one certain franchise or another, it's still a good holistic thing.
It's my second time at PAX, and to comment on the whole stereotyping of gamers thing, I think that coming here once is a good way to completely shatter all of those stereotypes, because you realize that gaming's the biggest entertainment.
Also, everyone's so nice here.
Oh, everyone's
like, I've never like walked by and someone's like, hey, you know, I always walk by and someone's like, oh, I'm so sorry, or like, hey, let's hang out, like, let's talk about this.
We sat down with a stranger. We were just like, hey, do you mind? Because it is rather crowded because of how many people are here, and it's like everyone's so friendly.
It's to the community that it's growing so rapidly every year. It's bigger and bigger, and they have more and more conventions going on, and the fact that it's, you know, a relatively young industry, and this convention itself,
I mean, they already surpassed. Grand Theft Auto made what, like $3 billion? Surpassed
I mean,
movies.
the gaming industry is even bigger than the film industry, and the fact that people still stereotype gamers feels weird, because you don't stereotype film goers. You might stereotype film students or people who make the art, or genre-wise. But you don't.
The one art student who's just like, you haven't seen Kurosawa's masterpiece.
But you don't stereotype film watchers, which is why I find it weird that people stereotype gamers, or still try to stereotype gamers, which it doesn't work when you look at
I mean, one thing I like about it is the common connection. When Corey and I first met, we talked about Metal Gear Solid, and it was that common experience of like, how did you get into it? Let's talk about it, because every experience is different, but the same at the exact same time.
Everyone's got a different favorite Metal Gear.
Everyone, but everyone has a different story of how they got into gaming, but it's strangely similar, but very different. Where like how they decided to pick up controller. Just a quick rundown. How did you guys first discover? Like, what was the first game do you remember consciously playing? I mean, like, wow, I want to get like another one.
Well, for me, it was Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. I mean,
high five,
like,
in-camera high five.
Yeah, the Nintendo 64 was my first console, and that was the first game, and I got it as like a hand-me-down from my cousins, and I just was so grateful to be able to get lost in this place and have wonderful winter breaks of fighting Keese or going against any type of monster there is.
That's awesome.
I'd say a lot of old PC games. My brother had computers a lot earlier than a lot of people did, so I got to play like the original Diablo, Myst.
Do you ever find the cow level?
StarCraft 1. Oh, yeah. I mean, Diablo 2 better than Diablo 1. Like Lord of Destruction is my childhood. I play it every couple of years the same way I do with Metal Gear. But I think Myst and early point and clicks and like those early PC games.
Even like Pajama Sand.
Yeah, the first console game I ever played was Power Stone for the Dreamcast.
Really?
Yeah, because we never.
That's deep cut right now.
Yeah, we never had
uncharted territory.
We never had a console.
He's gonna walk by and be like, what?
We had PCs,
right?
But we never had consoles. Yeah, actually, the Power Stone for the PSP is the only remake of that game that's ever come out, and I love it. I have it, and I'm just
go deep
Power
cut.
Power Stone 2. And then we got PS2, and we got the Bouncer, which was like the best brawl.
I love the Bouncer, and like no one knows about it, and I'm like, it hurts my soul.
I get into fights with
my
friends
bones
all the time because he says like, "Oh, the Bouncer's not a good game," and I'm like, "No,
you're wrong. It's
amazing.
Fun.
It's the worst storyline, but it's
like a beat 'em up Final Fantasy game you've never really wanted, but like you need as soon as you start playing.
Take Final Fantasy, make it into a fighting game, take out 80% of the story, but keep everything else.
All the wackiness, absolutely.
Dog Street. Dog Street for life.
My first game was Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt combo on the Nintendo Entertainment System.
Same here.
Also, the other one that was right around that time was Joe and Mac on the Super NES. Just two cavemen hopping around, beating up dinosaurs.
That's awesome. So last question, thank you so much. What is your hope for the future of gaming? Where would you like to see gaming go?
I mean, we can already see the virtual reality coming afoot, and that's happening. I want to see more of the multiplayer keep getting promoted. Like, I want it to be where if there was a situation here that people could be playing a game just like instantly. So I guess the Switch is kind of onto it. I can
Yeah, like in early days of that.
But I wouldn't want to like invest in it just yet, just because for me I need more games on the phone.
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that's just my little bit. But yeah, the future I'm hoping just continues to be so imaginative and all about fantasy and the magic that video games can bring to someone's life.
I'm really excited about VR, but I'm more excited about just the elevation of video games as art, as a platform.
Yeah.
Things like Death Stranding.
Yeah, absolutely, and more people are recognizing that.
Yeah, and I really think that it has this amazing potential to be like the most forefront art form if we kind of break down a few more of the barriers that already exist there.
I think it's inevitable that VR is going to become more consumer available and kind of dominate the direction in which things are going. So I guess where I want to see it go more in that end is getting that connectivity in the realm of VR, so that you have people in VR sets at different locations playing together in the same world and being able to experience that as a whole virtual reality with other people.
Absolutely, because you can't really experience film the same way, but you can't really experience video games the exact same way.
Yeah, exactly.
So, well, awesome. Thank you guys. Thank you guys so much. Okay, so I'm with Kaylee, resident gamer and Batman aficionado. So Kaylee, what's up? How you doing?
I'm doing quite well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. So first question, why do you play games?
I play games because I love a good story. I started as a reader, and I would read 24/7. I didn't go outside as a kid. I didn't play with people as a kid. All I did was read.
I mean, who needs people? Like,
I stand by that statement to this day. But I just loved worlds, and I loved series of books because I could be in those worlds for longer. And when I discovered video games, it was just a way to get into those worlds in a deeper way. And so I play games, there's huge debates about, what's more important, gameplay, story, things like that. And for me, story has always been king.
Absolutely. So why does, to phrase this question, what do games offer, like, in a story that other mediums don't offer that, stimulates your mind, so?
Well, first off, there's player choice. You are in the story. In a TV show, in a film, even in a book, other than choose your own adventure books. You don't get to interact in the story. You're not participatory in it. There's no sense that you have any sort of real interaction in that medium. And in a game, you can physically get lost in that world.
That's true.
You have choice.
You can't choose Harry's wand.
No. But in Harry Potter video games, you literally can go to Ollivander's, take a quiz, and they'll be like, well, here's your wand. And it feels like your wand.
That's awesome. So we were talking about people. Do your friends play video games? Yeah,
I mean, now that I've kind of chosen to immerse myself in gamer culture, yeah, so most of my friends are gamers.
And does that make your, friendship tighter?
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, friendships are always tighter when you have common interests, so for sure. When you have things to talk about, it's definitely easier to get closer.
Absolutely. So, I'm assuming because of that community, like we were just talking about, what are, the positive aspects of that, gaming community and that gaming culture?
Oh, it's fascinating. I mean, there's positive aspects about any culture. When you go and I have friends that are really into working out, and they'll talk about how great the running community is, or how great the chess community is. So every community has its benefits when you go to look for them, but to me, the gaming community is something really special. We have things like Extra Life, where, people go out of their way to raise tens of thousands of dollars for people. We have things where, a community member will run out on a hard time, and community members will, start donating clothes and food, and, hey, the new Pokemon game just came out, and I know you're having a hard time, and you're living out of hotels right now, but here's a little piece of joy so that you can forget about how crappy your life is for 5 seconds and just sink 80 hours of your life into this for a moment. And so, games offer this kind of escapism that's really appreciated, and we recognize that.
So what would be like your hope for like the community? Like, it has all these great things. What would be your hope to make it even better?
It can be very easy to get very divisive, and so empathy. I think that a lot of times it can be very easy for people to very quickly turn on each other and to say, I don't agree with you, and so thus we can't relate. And you can have different opinions with someone, but remember what you have in common. It's like, we might not agree on this, but at the end of the day, let's talk about Dark Souls.
Absolutely.
let's put all that aside, and let's just talk about the things that we can talk about. Let's focus on the things that we do love, and let's just have some fun. Let's just talk about games, because there's so many things going on in the world that can be so divisive and can be so negative that I think gaming especially, again, goes back to that escapism. It goes back to this kind of almost naive simplicity that can be kind of a breath of fresh air, especially today. And it's almost beautiful in that naivety, and it's necessary almost more than ever now. And that's really beautiful. And I think if we can focus on that and focus on coming together for those simple moments when a new game launches and releases and everyone's sitting there going, how did you get past this boss? And I'm on this new puzzle and I can't figure it out, and you're not talking about what's going on in the world and why we're fighting about this, and we don't agree on this politic or this new legislation or whatever's going on, and you're just focusing on these ridiculous things that on the outside don't really seem to matter. It's a little bit beautiful.
Absolutely. It's like the common experience. Mm-hmm. Like when I talk about Metal Gear Solid 2, it's like, well, how did you find the series? Oh, like, this is what I did. This is the games I played. This is the order I played it in. And it's a nice common experience. But one thing I want to touch upon, you talked about empathy. And I think one awesome thing games are doing now, it's branching away from like, yeah, we still have like our fun Twitch-based games, but we also have games that are empathetic, that teach you how to be like a better person by showing you other points of view. What do you think about games that kind of teach you to like have more compassion and empathy? Like This War of Mine is a game that comes to mind where it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm never going to be in this situation, but now I have empathy for someone who might be in that situation.
Oh no, I think that's one of the best parts about games, where they can almost trick you into experiencing things that you never would have. Games like Gone Home or That Dragon Cancer come to mind, where they can give you perspectives and insights into things. Life is Strange is another great example, where you don't have to relate to a character in the sense that you 100% are that character. I.e., playing as a female when you're a male, playing as someone of a different race, playing as someone of a different species. You can play a character who is suffering from, in Dragon Age, you can play as a dwarf and understand the prejudice that the dwarf race faces from different species and relate that to other things. And it's really, really fascinating to be able to see how different people live through this medium. And so it's a nice way to kind of broach these kind of taboo or hard to talk about topics in a way that's palatable for people. Mm-hmm. And so I think it's a really great way to, especially for younger people or for people who are maybe not the easiest to talk to, It's a really great way to start doing that for people. And so I think gaming has a huge opportunity to bring to light social issues in a really fascinating way that makes it digestible for people who maybe aren't always so open to talking about social issues.
I mean, like, I'll never get Chloe from, like, I'm not Chloe from the Life is Strange, but I can understand the idea of being lost and, like, being down such a path where I was like, oh, how am I going to get out of it? Like, I can understand that, and I can empathize with that.
Exactly.
So, final question. This has been awesome. What's your hope for the future of video games?
I have the same hope for video games that I hope for everything, and that's just constant innovation. I always want more. I always want better. You know, it's hard to give a concrete answer because I always want to be surprised. Like, yeah. I want something that I don't know. I want to be wowed. I want to go, that's so cool, I couldn't think of that. You know, I want to be blown away. Awesome. Well, same here. Well, thank you so much for doing this. Absolutely. So I'm sitting here with Zyger, known Amiibo collection expert and best friend and fan of video games. How you doing this morning, Zyger?
I'm doing fantastic. A little tired because I just woke up like an hour ago, but still great. Well,
awesome. Thank you so much for participating in this documentary. So first question off the top, why do you play video games?
I play video games to have a great time. I started playing games since I was a little kid. Started with like Super Nintendo, went from there. Growing up, I mostly played Nintendo games, but I usually played just for fun. Because I wasn't the kid that would go outside or play basketball. Technically, we'd play baseball where I grew up, but yeah, I just played them to have fun.
Now, did your friends play video games, or like the connections you made at school or something?
A lot of the friends that I had growing up, some of them play video games. Sometimes they would come over to my house. I would play the Nintendo 64. We'd play Smash Bros. We would do that until nighttime. A lot of my friends I would hang out with in the playground at my school. We would talk about video games. We couldn't play the video games because the teachers were, dicks. They wouldn't let you bring your Game Boys out.
I mean, they'd be like that sometimes.
Yeah.
So do you say you guys playing video games like tightened your friendship with them?
For the friends that did play video games, yes, because we had more to talk about. We just hung out more because we had more common interests. For the friends that didn't play video games, like the ones that wanted to go out mountain biking or climbing, the ones that flew over to the beach area and hang out there over the spring break, I didn't talk to them as much because we were just initially different. I prefer talking to my friends that do play video games. So yeah, I built a stronger connection with them. We would talk about Pokemon until 2 in the morning. And then my mom found out I was awake, I would get in trouble. But yeah.
So how would you say those connections have lasted over the years? Or like those connections that you still hold strong? Or have you created new ones?
I've created new ones entirely. Growing up, all those kids that I play video games with, out of all of them, I only ever talked to like 1 or 2 of them now. Because, school friendships, after high school, people just go their own different ways. But over the course of the past 3-4 years, I've met dozens, hundreds of new friends that all share a passion for video games.
So, talking about the community itself, what are your favorite aspects of the video game community?
My favorite aspect is the fact that the video game community just accepts everyone. Anyone can pick up a game and play it. It doesn't matter if you've been playing video games for 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, or if you just started last week. It doesn't matter if you play on one console, if you play on PC, if you play on mobile. The video game community accepts anyone. If you want to put the time in to play a game, it doesn't matter if the game is like something stupid and simple like Angry Birds or something complex like fucking those PC games like Counter-Strike or Dota. It doesn't matter. The video game community has something for everyone.
It's interesting. There's always this like perception of like the standoffish like video game comic book guy in The Simpsons. I think is a great example of like the standoffish nerd. But I find like going to video games like PAX or just meeting folks who play video games, it's very different. Where it's not like that at all. You find that like true. Like no, we can be really welcoming and hey, if you do want to play games, like, let's talk about it, because we definitely been in that situation before.
So, like, as you were saying, there is this idea, like, the comic book nerd, the kid who lives in the parents' basement until he's 30, who plays video games all day. That idea was probably strong in, like, the early 90s, early 2000s, when people weren't playing video games. Those people are assholes. They don't understand that video games help other people. Nowadays, it's more common to play video games. You have no idea. The video game industry is like one of the biggest industries.
Oh, yeah.
I can't say for sure if it is. I don't know. I don't read all the numbers or everything.
Well, I mean, Grand Theft Auto made more than
most
movies.
Yeah. In a day, too. I may be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it made $2 billion in a day? Or
I think it was $3 billion.
No, I think that's lifetime, but like on launch day.
Oh,
anyway,
yeah.
The point is, the video game industry is huge now.
Yeah.
Before, in the early 90s and everything, it was just rolling. The video game industry almost died, as you know, but things picked up, and now it's one of the biggest industries.
Oh, yeah, everyone knows Mario. Like,
exactly.
So, with all that positively being said about the industry, what do you think needs to change to the community to make it even better?
That is a hard question. If I had to say something, it would be a more focus on letting everyone be able to play games. Right now, the industry is experiencing a time where we're experimenting with VR and AR. I feel like these two aspects of the video game industry can help even more people experience video games. People who may not be able to go out and buy a PS4 or whatever, or who don't have the greatest control of their arms, like people in hospitals and everything. VR and AR can help them start.
So for the folks watching the movie, what are VR and AR?
VR is virtual reality, which is like a headset. It takes you into a virtual world and you're able to do experiences that way, while AR is augmented reality. It takes video games aspects and put it into real life. So, for example, a VR experience would be you are in the Minecraft world. You are no longer in the world that you're in. Whereas AR is, I can have Minecraft sitting on this countertop here and play it that way.
Yeah. Kind of like those glasses in Heavy Rain, where he's able to kind of like play with the ball and the ball's not there. No, that's awesome. So, what would you say are your own personal hopes for video games and what you'd like to see with them in the future? Not just about the community, but like, oh yeah, I'd like to see them maybe go in this direction or that direction.
I would like to see video games be more accepting because, as you know, there are people within the video game community that sort of hate each other. There's fanboys, people that are diehard PlayStation fans or diehard Xbox fans that like, oh, your console sucks, 920p versus 1080p, blah, blah, blah. All the whiny babies. Everyone just needs to shut up and enjoy playing video games.
Yeah. This is a community that started because of, like, we weren't accepted in another one, so we created our own, and
exactly.
Sometimes you get the small aspect of it that can be pretty toxic. So, yeah, absolutely. Well, Zyger, I want to thank you so much for participating in the movie, so thank you.
Thank you.
So playing video games as a child, I never really understood that there was a team of artists and collaborators and visionaries that really brought these things to life. So part 3 is going to focus not on gamers, but on game designers and people talking about game design theory, essentially what they do in order to bring video games to life. It's really interesting. It's going to be a lot of fun. And we're good. So we are here with Dan and Gary Games talking about the industry, about video games, and why we just love it so much. How you guys doing today?
Adequate. Doing pretty good.
Wonderful.
Yeah.
I guess the first question, just to get things rolling, is what made the medium of gaming so much more appealing than any other medium?
I guess it's a tough one. I guess you didn't choose gaming as a medium.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I mean, I was studying art, and I wanted to do basically whatever I could where I could make art and gaming coincide that pretty well.
Yeah, I mean, we've known each other since middle school, so...
Unfortunately.
So I guess I grew up gaming. Like I started with just a regular Nintendo system when I was very young. I got a Nintendo 64 for my 7th birthday, I think. I was also very young, and I mean from then on I was constantly gaming.
Yeah.
So when I got into high school, you know, I applied to college for a game design degree. And when I got in, I was like, I guess that's what I'm doing now. I mean, I guess I got lucky. Like I didn't realize what the medium of like making a game was like. I thought it was gonna be more, I guess, fun. I think it's a lot of fun, but I think people have a different idea of it. It just turned out that
the desk with all like the action figures on it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. It's like, you know, I get to play games all day, and I mean you do, but you get to play the same game all day, for 8 hours a day, and it's so I guess it's fun. I like to create.
Yeah,
you know?
Absolutely.
I'm not as artistic as Dan.
Damn straight you're not.
But I can be creative in another way.
No, absolutely. I mean, when I saw Star Wars for the first time, I was like, I want to make funny pictures on the screen. You know, this is like free Jar Jar, so like my hopes weren't dashed to the rocks. It's just like, oh, that's great, but then you realize it's like I'm also like sitting in front of the same image. It's like so you can't see it anymore. No, that's awesome. What do you most like about like the community of like game designers and talking to other people who make games? And do you guys like share tips? Do you like, hey, I'm working on this thing. How did you accomplish that problem or solve XYZ making your game?
I think the longer like we've been working on this, the more we've like been connected with like the independent game community, like whether it's nationwide or even a handful of people like internationally. But like the closer you get to these people, like the more like you recognize each other at conventions, you share tips, you see like what everyone's working on, and you help get exposure. Like you help each other out. Like you're all in the same boat, for better or for worse.
Yeah, absolutely. It's kind of weird and strange because I know at first when we first started out, we didn't really think of game designers and developers as like one single community. We were kind of like, it was us and then there's all of them, and they're all independent. We're like, oh, we got to do better than them. Yeah. You know, like they're in the competition because I mean, when you're learning about the industry, everyone's like, it's so competitive. Like, what's your you go and talk to investors and like, what's your competition like? So we didn't really talk to too many other developers, and then we started going to these conventions and meeting other ones. And we're like, these guys are awesome. And I've talked to I've had so many like CEOs of other indie companies message me like, hey, do you want to Skype so we can like talk about like I can like help you out with this issue that you're having or this or that. I've learned so much just by like these people that I barely know reaching out to me and be like, hey, I can give you any tips if you want.
GDC must be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Oh yeah, absolutely.
Especially when you're not exhibiting.
Yeah. Oh no, absolutely.
Yeah.
GDC for the viewer is Game Developer Conference, where a bunch of game developers come and talk, and that must be great if you're not exhibiting. I did some like exhibits, and it's like when you're there, like, and you have to be in your booth, it's like the worst.
Just waiting for the fun to come to you.
Oh, absolutely. But like going to PAX and you're just like a person, and you're just like, oh boy, I can do anything, and there's no one. That must be great just to talk and.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah, this will be our first year going to GDC as not exhibitors, so we actually get to walk around and talk to people. I mean, even when you're at your booth, you meet a bunch of other game developers and stuff. And like I said, they're all super helpful. So I love the game design community. I mean, we meet so many cool people.
Yeah, absolutely. So I mean, it must be great to have something that's like PAX but not PAX, if that makes sense, where it's not for the consumer, it's for the people who make
exactly. It. Exactly, just like for all your friends.
Yeah.
So you can listen to Ken Levine, be like, guys, the PS Vita.
Well, it's going to be cool because this will be the first year that, like I said, that we haven't exhibited, but it's also going to be the first year that we go already knowing a lot of people that are going to be there. So it's going to be cool to run into these people that we haven't seen in a year and be like, hey, what's going on? How have you guys been? And I don't know. I mean, it's a yearly get together where you just see all your friends you haven't seen in a while.
Absolutely.
And I think a lot of success for indie developers comes through knowing other developers because you have your fan base, right? You have you have for us people who like RPGs and like South Park and all that sort of stuff.
Napoleon Dynamite.
Yeah, and then we have our friends that have a completely different fan base, but they might overlap. So being able to talk to each other and share fan bases is gonna be gross for everyone.
It's like, hey, you like this? You gotta try Super Darrow Deluxe because it's gonna fit into this.
and that kind of fits in like the competition thing you mentioned earlier, like talking to investors, you say like, what's your competition? Well, in games, it's not so much about competition. Like, say, if you like this game, chances are you're probably going to venture out to play other games similar to it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure competition comes into play in some cases.
Oh, of
I mean,
course.
you have like your Call of Duty and Battlefield, and you have like fan bases like the other one sucks.
I think much more in like the AAA community.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was in competition for the AAA is probably more fierce. Where for indie, it's most like maybe it's if one succeeds, that person can lift the other team up.
Oh, exactly. And because I mean, and indie games are generally a lot cheaper too. You're paying a fraction of the price. If you like, I don't know, what's I can't really think of any off the top of my head, but you know, you like one game and one genre that's maybe a some sort of sim game, right? You're like, this was awesome. I paid $10 for this game, and then there's this other game that could be considered competition, but it's also like $10. Why not? A good one would be like you have like Rust, Ark, and Conan Exiles. You know, like they're all survival, like I guess sims that are all kind of the same.
Yeah.
But there's people who have purchased all of them, and they play all of them.
It's like I can get Braid, Fez, Super Meat Boy, and Super Daredevil Deluxe. I probably saved more than like getting. I just got Last Guardian, so more than like getting Last Guardian.
You can still afford like 2 or 3 more indie games.
Exactly. And have it each one be its own unique voice, because the risk of like, oh man, we have to get our returns back is a different, maybe a different philosophy.
Because we might not get returns.
So like we were talking about your gaming influences and like the games that you start playing and other developers. What games inspire you now? Like when you're like, oh, I have 5 minutes, I can actually play something else. What would you guys sit down and play?
City Builders.
This is nothing. Well, I've been playing The Witcher 3 for like 85 hours for the past. I'm at 85 hours.
I'm stepping into the friend to high five because 120 hours.
Oh my god, I'm not done yet. I've been playing for like 3 or 4 months now because I only get a couple hours a week to play.
Yeah.
But generally, you know, that's for like what inspired me. I guess
Blood and Wine is perfect.
I haven't gotten that far yet.
So good.
I haven't gotten that far. I'm close. I guess it's strange because I think the game isn't necessarily influenced by games that I play now or that I would necessarily play now. The game just kind of took a life of its own after, because it started out as a student project.
Yeah.
And I was just like, I'm going to make a box jump on this platform. And then I added different rooms and I added some NPCs. And they were ninjas at first. And they were like little ninjas running around. And
Like we were in his childhood room, and just like, want to make a game?
Actually, it was like, I think our sophomore year.
That was during the summer.
Yeah, and we're just in my small room back in our hometown. And I'm like, let's make a game. And here we are.
I'll learn animation and how to make digital art.
And I'll learn how to program. But I mean, I guess now what inspires me, I really like seeing, I guess, really unique indie games. If I have time to sit down and play a game after I'm done with The Witcher, it's going to be indie games. You know, like Hyper Light Drifter, I really want to play.
I'm playing that right now. It's hard, but it's great.
I mean, it's stuff like that where it's weird and I guess just colorful and just unique in strange ways, you know.
They risk being more personal. Like, I don't know if you know, the guy who made Hyper Light Drifter has like something wrong with his heart where he might die at any moment. And he put that into like the main character in the world's story.
I did not know that.
So playing the game, it's like, wow, it makes me care for the main character more, knowing that this came from him and this is more from his like heart.
Yeah, I mean I don't know. There are so many cool games coming out constantly now that I want to play, and I'm always inspired by
all the games.
Yeah, I'm always inspired by small teams. Wizard of Legend was one that they had a Kickstarter recently, and I remember we saw their Kickstarter, and it's one of those games where we're watching the video and we're like, wow, we're like shit, like they have it down, like that's something we should have done. Yeah, it was just it just came together so well.
Starting out, we had nothing down. You know?
Yeah, so I mean, and I think that's a 2-person team.
Yeah.
I don't know if we should be like name dropping other like games and stuff. I don't know, but
I think that just shows that like it's an intricate community. Like everyone knows what the other person's doing, not because of like you were saying, of competition, but because you're generally interested. And and that's what makes like kind of medium different. Because when I make a film, it's like I hope it does better than the other film.
Yeah.
I did film festivals in LA, and my film screening, and then I see the next one. I'm like, oh, this film doesn't have these stone effects that I spent 2 days working on. Like, just saying, like, what's with that camera work? So I feel it's different because in film you're bred to be like competition. In the indie game, it had a chance to be like, no, let's make it a community. Let's make it, where we all know each other.
Yeah, I mean, there's still like a feeling of I don't know if it's competition or not. I mean, like recently we have friends who just released a Kickstarter for their game, and within 4 hours they just blew it away. And I think they're like over 300% funded now, and we're looking at it like, oh, like I emailed them. I was like, dude, that's awesome. You guys are killing it, and I am really happy for them.
Yeah.
At the same time, it's like I guess it's jealous.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't know, envious I think might be a better word than jealousy.
What you want to strive to be.
Yeah, I mean, you look at them and go like, oh my god, that's awesome. And it's just, we want to reach that point, I guess.
Banner Saga just did their Kickstarter for that third game.
Yeah.
And it was just like, you better believe I gave. I really like that series.
Yeah,
I mean, we all can't be Mighty Number 9.
Yeah. Dude, Banner Saga is another one of those games that it's been on my list for a long time, and now there's going to be a third game.
Yeah.
I have to get through it because it sounds and looks awesome.
They're great. The first game is great. They're like Witcher, where like you make these choices, and it's great. It's like you make the best of each shit choice that you're given.
It's like the grid-based, turn-based strategy, right?
Yeah,
it's
absolutely.
like Fire Emblem or Final Fantasy Tactics or something like that.
Oh yeah, no, I would say very more. It's like a European Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
With the choices of The Witcher.
Okay.
Without the boobies.
Yeah. Well, damn, I can't play.
That's like, no,
that's it. That's it. Yeah.
Oh no, that's awesome. So, now your experience as a gamer, how does that influence you as a designer? Or an artist?
You first.
I've taken a lot of influence, I guess, from just like a game development standpoint. So like this is all very, very new to me. It's like someone just like studied illustration and stuff. There's just an end up art in general.
Yeah.
I've played like Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. I bring that up constantly with like as far as like design choices go. I think they just really nailed down the 2D aesthetic. Well, it's kind of more 3D, which I think a lot of our maps emulate in a way. Just like it looks like Daryl's in like kind of this 3D world.
Yeah.
In a lot of instances.
Yeah.
What was the question?
I was about to ask that too.
How your experience as a gamer has influenced you as a designer?
Oh, cool. So I got the answer right then.
Yo, you nailed it.
Excellent.
I guess
felt inspired listening to that.
I guess for me, I guess it influences me the most. Like, it's strange because I'm such a like I said, I play games constantly. I've always, not anymore, but I used to, and
to make a game constantly.
And so when I design enemies and levels, and for example, I guess just game balance and like hiding things in the world, and I actually have made it. I've made the game kind of difficult without intending to, and that's just because I've been gaming for so long and so much that for me a lot of stuff is like second nature, and like I can I guess put things together in the game world that other players might not be able to.
Yeah.
And we actually just started our first round of play testing like a week or two ago, and I sent the game out to a few people, and one of them was a guy who I knew in my last job. He's been playing games. He's been like a hardcore gamer for like 30 years. And he kind of praised it. He was like, the game doesn't insult my intelligence. It's clever, it's smart, it makes you like have to think and solve problems and all this stuff. But he also said that's a double-edged sword because that's not the average gamer necessarily.
Yeah.
So I guess.
But you're willing to trust them. You're willing to put a game out and be like, you can take this at your own pace and you'll figure it out eventually. But I'm not going to belittle you and be like, it's in the keys in the other room, or
but then we have people that are getting back to me, and they're like, the game's a lot of fun, but it's kind of hard. There's like not much direction to it. And I'm sitting here thinking, and this is where like that influence comes in. It's like, do I want there to be? Like on one hand, I really like that there isn't. I like having to figure it out. Like for myself, if I jump into a new game, for example, The Witcher kind of points you in every direction. I'm just staring at the minimap the entire time playing the game, and it's fun, but I want a reason to figure things out on my own.
Yeah.
So I guess that's
to like organically explore, like emergent gameplay where you'll find it as you progress through the world.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's kind of what I'm aiming for, but I think we're gonna alienate people because of that. And
I mean, hey, Dark Souls is alienated people.
That's a good point.
And they don't have an easy level, even though most gamers cry for it. But I think you're changing the inherent experience the moment you have an easy level, because you have to feel a sense of accomplishment. I dominated a boss in Bloodborne, and I was like, eat it! And it was the greatest experience of my life.
That's the thing, people will always say, well, a lot of people will suggest, like, why not add an easier mode, or, for example, in our game, it's like, why not have an option where you can turn on knowing where the objectives is? And like, well, that, like, sure, the hardcore players aren't going to have it on, but it feels a lot less satisfying if the option's there. Even if the option's there, it's like, I don't know, it just takes something away. When it's not there at all and everyone's on the same playing field, it feels a lot more satisfying to be like, oh, I beat that boss, or I found that objective.
Also, it's more work.
I guess it is more work too.
Well, this has been a tremendous conversation. Thank you so much for sitting down and talking with me. I hope nothing but the best for your game, and I can't wait to play it myself.
Our pleasure entertaining you.
Thank you.
This is going to be this, but you said that incompleteness is worse than completeness and trying to just never finishing it. Does that take priority? Let's say like 80% of the people in this room are making a Mario clone. What takes priority? Finishing the Mario clone or not?
Finish it.
Finish it.
Yeah,
I knew that was going to be
Yeah,
finish it. Absolutely takes priority.
And I want to see your Mario clone. Unlike Seth, I'm kind of like, I wonder what happens if I play 100 different versions of Mario in a row. What kind of nightmares will I have?
Especially with neocolonialism, I took existing tropes and just sort of intentionally played with them. So it's sort of like the anti-civilization in a lot of ways, and it takes turn-based strategy and sort of like flips it on its head and talks about what does it mean to expand your borders, and what does it mean to accumulate resources, like what is the actual consequence of that. Undertale, exactly, and Undertale, which is
RPG Inside Out,
Yeah.
But the thing about that is like, how do you really think about what hasn't been done? You know what I mean? Because like, you got to do something that's possible within our 3D dimension, So it's gonna have to be, you got your idea from somewhere, like they said sometime in their talk. So you know what I mean? To like think that you're gonna come up with something completely new is ridiculous, and that's why it's so, you have like 100-year spans where everyone does sort of the same thing before something new comes along. So like, if you have a really good imagination and you want to make a game that's like some crazy thing, then that's what's gonna happen. And to like question whether or not, that's not gonna happen or something, you know what I mean? It's just like a ridiculous question.
Yeah, make your thing.
Make a thing. If you don't make the thing, you don't make the thing. If you make the thing, you do. And it's probably been done before.
And that's it. That's the end of the movie. We learned about people's special relationship with video games, why it's something we hold so dear to our heart, and in times of stress or discomfort, it's something we can go to. I myself have spent many hours playing games as a source of comfort, as a source of enlightenment, and just something to do with my friends. I hope you've been able to get a better understanding of why we play video games, and maybe why your friends play video games. It's been a blast. I hope you enjoyed the movie. Thank you very much.